Hey YouTube, in this video I'm going to be doing a deck profile on the new Shadow Paladin Diablo deck. So this is the one that's probably the most anticipated one from set 6, I believe. Probably along the lines with Atmile and Asha. Those two decks also got quite a bit of support, and then of course the new Grand Blue stuff as well. But for Shadow Paladins, this is probably the one that everyone's probably been waiting to see, how I built the deck. This one's actually going to focus on the Diablo build. Diablo in the sense that the support cards, like the rear guards and stuff, look for Vanguards that have Diablo in the name as opposed to Blaster. Blaster is actually a slightly different build. It can still take advantage of the new Spectral Blaster Diablo, obviously because Blaster's in the name, but it has different things, like it has a new starter that came out. So let me know in the comments if you want to see that one, that variant of the deck, and I may put that one together in the future. But you can tell that this one is actually Diablo focused based off of this first Vanguard here. So Whirlwind of Darkness, Vortimir Diablo, basically Black Dragon Knight, Vortimir from the Spectral Duke Ride Chain. He got promoted to grade 3. Notice he does not have Blaster in the name, so if you are running Blaster support cards or rear guards that look for Blaster in the Vanguard and you're not striding into something that has Blaster in the name, then it won't work with him, so just keep that in mind. But he does have Diablo in the name, so he works with Diablo. Next, the other Vanguard is the Blaster Dark Diablo from the Legend deck. He's still typically the main Vanguard that you want to ride, I would say, compared to Vortimir. Vortimir is good, but he's not the optimal ride. He's basically designed to work well with Spectral Blaster, since this is technically, this is kind of like a revival of the Spectral Duke Dragon ride chain, which is actually a Gold Paladin ride chain from back in the day, but it was kind of like the dark side of Gold Paladin, or the dark half of Gold Paladin. So it fits in with the Shadow Paladin style. So anyway, Blaster Dark Diablo, he's like the main grade 3 that you want to try to ride, because he has a really good effective on stride for the Dark Dragon Phantom Blaster Diablo to retire the opponent's rear guards. And it just meshes really well with those cards. For grade 2s, for Dark Knight Maiden Maka, this is still a really good card, really solid card in this deck because of its ability to easily call grade 1s. They got some pretty good support cards for grade 1 as well. Next, we're running 4 Black Chain Flame Dance Formation Howl, or Howl. He is pretty much the replacement to the Dorant from the Legend deck. The Dorant being the Blaster variant support. This is the Diablo variant support, so he actually checks for Diablo Vanguards in order to do his effect. He's basically your unflip engine, comboing with the new grade 1, which replaced Claudus, I believe. The next grade 2 we're running is Dark Saga Painter. Dark Saga Painter is actually really good because it's actually a pretty good tech card in my opinion at 2 copies. Originally I was testing 3, but I feel like 3 is too many. Because you usually will only need to search for one of these from the deck, so I kind of want to just run 2. But basically what it does is, when he's in the deck and you have a Vanguard with Diablo in the name, he gets -1 grade, so he's basically a grade 1 in the deck, as long as you have a Diablo Vanguard. So like I said, pretty good support that plays around the grade 1 issue. Royal Paladin did get something like that also. And then I am running 1 Skullwitch Nevin, just because it's a pretty decent one of tech choice to help draw extra cards. Next, for grade 1s, 4 little Skullwitch Nevin, so just the Legend deck, Perfect Guard. It doesn't really matter what Perfect Guard you run. Probably the most ideal for this deck would probably just be a regular Perfect Guard that basically can protect rear guards, because sometimes you do kind of want to protect your rear guards because you need them in order to get your retire effects off. And the deck, I don't know, it has an unflip engine, so from playtesting it, I haven't ran into issues with counterblast problems. So either this or a normal one would be good, like the very first McLear. Next, 2 Cherishing Night Brahmin, so the 2 Stride Enabler, just to improve stride consistency. And then 3 Black Chain Spirit Dance Formation Kahaden. He's basically the grade 1 that goes with Howl. When he gets retired for the cost of your unit's ability, as the Vanguard has Diablo in the name, you can give the Vanguard 5,000 power, and then it also gets the red skill of when its attack hits, you can search your deck for a grade 1 and call it, and then if Howl, the grade 2, is on the field still, that unit gets 5,000 power. So they combo pretty well. But in playtesting the deck, at least so far, I've found situations where I end up retiring both of them. Or I would end up retiring this guy and then one of them, and the other one would be missing from the field. So when I call him out, for example, from Diablo's effect or something, then the other one's not there. So that's the only problem that I've seen with this deck, with those 2 cards. Next, 3 Pitch Black Sage Charon. Just a pretty good card. It is a Blaster support card, but because Diablo and Phantom Blaster have Blaster in the name, typically it's not really an issue as long as you're retiring this guy on the stride effects. And then last is 2 Dark Heart Trumpeteer. Again, this is a Blaster support card, so it doesn't work with Vortimir. But it does work on the turns that you're striding into the Diablo stuff, or the Blaster / Diablo stuff. So that's the majority of the deck. For the trigger lineup, I am just running the 4 Howl Owl, because the deck does actually need Soul, and we'll talk about that especially when we get to the Stride deck. Then just 8 critical. Shadow Paladin has a lot of triggers, or a lot of criticals to choose from. Just 8 critical and then 4 heal. I stuck with the original one. And then the starter is the Full Bow Diablo. So this is Diablo's new starter, or the starter that's designed to work with Blaster actually. But I feel like this one, either this one or the Legend deck one is fine. I like this one because it doesn't have to use Counterblast. And it's similar to Chrono Dran and the new Thavas starter, in the sense that it does get you a Blaster Dark to the field to basically get an extra attack in. So that's why I like it. It doesn't use any Counterblast. And it's not GB restricted or anything like that. For the Stride deck, it's really like, there's a lot of different ways to build it. I'll show probably 2 different versions that I came up with. But basically, from what I'm running right now, I am running 3 Dark Dragon Spectral Blaster Diablo. Really, you only need 2 of this in order for it to work, or in order for you to be able to stride it twice a game, which is probably the maximum you'd ever stride this. But with 3 copies, you could technically stride it 3 times. Although I feel like it's not as good as everybody thinks it is. I actually do still think that the Legend deck's Dark Dragon Phantom Blaster Diablo is still the better card, because it's a lot scarier and it can potentially win you a game for free because of the unblockable attack that can exist. And then I am just running the 1 Dark Knight Grim Recruiter. So literally it's just the Stride deck's, the Legend deck's Stride units plus 3 Diablos. The other version, or I guess the other one that I was testing before, was only 2 Diablo, and I was running Aura Geyser, and I wasn't running this guy. So it was 4 Phantom Blaster Diablo, 2 Spectral Blaster Diablo, and the Aura Geyser play. What I would find myself running into, though, is issues with Soul Blasting for him, because I would first stride Aura Geyser, so then he'd be up there, so you have GB2, and then typically I would stride Diablo second, this one, so then he would be like that in the generation zone. And then you have a choice here. You can either go into this guy, and then if you feel like you want to play, you want to be able to do this 2 times, you'd stride him, you'd flip this Diablo, and then your last stride would be him again, and you'd flip up this Diablo. So that was the first build. The problem I ran into was if I ever wanted to use this guy a second time, or even like I actually got in situations where I couldn't even stride him at all because I had no soul. So I'll give you an example of how that can happen. Dark Heart Trumpeter and Aura Geyser actually can cause that problem. So Aura Geyser and Dark Heart Trumpeter, and the other problem is Full Bow. Full Bow doesn't actually go in the soul. So typically you'll only have 2 soul. So if you stride Aura Geyser, that takes away 1 soul. And if you want to use Dark Heart Trumpeter, that uses up the other soul. So then you wouldn't be able to use this guy unless you use a Howl Owl to get an extra soul, or if you used Hole and Kaidijin, or whatever his name is, to soul charge again, so, or soul charge 1. So that was the problem I ran into when I first constructed the deck, so that's the reason why I ended up taking Aura Geyser out and throwing the third one in, third Spectral, and then put this guy in. That way, potentially what I could do is, especially if you're sitting on Blaster Dark Diablo, or even Vortimir, but Vortimir, like, you probably wouldn't stride this first. That way, you can first stride him and not have to worry about anything. If they block it, then whatever. And then you can potentially second stride this. Yeah, and then let's see, yeah. You can second stride this guy. So that's the reason why I kind of stuck with this setup for now. And I found myself not having issues with soul, mainly because Aura Geyser is no longer there to take that guaranteed 1 soul blast away. So that was basically my deck. Let me know what you guys would do for the grade 1, grade 2 lineup, or even any changes to the deck, or even the extra deck, or not extra deck, the stride deck. So anyway guys, hope you enjoyed that deck profile video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.